Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of our Star Trek Lower Decks Sam Rutherford previews. So we got to show off 8 cards last time. You can see there's 22 cards in this deck, so we're going to talk about 14 cards today. A lot of commons and uncommons, some simpler ones to go through, so maybe a little bit less time per card. As always, make sure you check out all the other previews that are going on today for the other 3 decks, as well as other Sam Rutherford previews. The other content creators are cooler than I am, for sure. I'm just going to come on here and talk about some cards a little bit. So, first up, just get right to it. We have Delta Flyby, little 5 difficulty, 3 check, 3 mid 7, 1 mid block, EX2 tech. That's it. Just kind of a bit of a stat stick, gives you a momentum outlet in these decks. You can spend it on EX, get a couple speed. Kind of alright. If you are the first Sam, the 6-hand size Sam, you can play around with these stats a little bit. It can be a 7 mid 4, for instance, if you're pressing your buttons, so you get a little bit of fiddling there with pretty much all of these cards, so keep that in mind. And of course, if you understand, this just has +2 speed for being a tech, so interesting in the context of the deck to have a card shaped like this. But yeah, just a common move. There's going to be a few of these in a row here, some 5 diffs. We've got a bunch of 5 diffs in this deck. Next one, Violet's Upload, a 2 low 6 stun 2 with tech, +1 low block. I think this is like a slight power creep kind of over, what's it called, Grace, I think it is. I might be mistaking the name, but there's an attack in the tech index that's a 2 low 5 stun 2 that is also blank. It probably doesn't even have the +1 block. Obviously, different symbol, different keywords, that sort of thing, but kind of interesting to have something that's a little bit better so quickly after that tech in deck. But yeah, this is kind of what I was saying that attack should be. If you're going to play a blank move, just have stun 2 and just have low speed, make it off zone for 6 is a pretty good way to go. This is enough to be slightly interesting. If you're a tech themed deck, you might be interested in playing this for sure. Next up, this is a bit of a throwback. We have a 5-3 Betraying Shove, a 3 mid 6 throw with the Blitz. If this attack is not blocked, commit 1 rival foundation. People who have been playing since the start of the MHA releases will remember Grasping Tape Toss. This is very similar to that, a similar effect. No deadlock on this one, and instead of being a 2 mid 5 stun 1, it is a 3 mid 6 with the tech keyword. So very intriguing card. I'll be interested to see if this one gets play, because Grasping Tape Toss saw lots of play. In many cases, it was sort of a way to put deadlock in the deck, but it's also a way to get some momentum, present something as your lead-in attack that's a little annoying for your opponent to deal with, because if you're going to attack some more, then blocking it is you're spending a block on this, but if you don't spend a block on it, then you get to commit a foundation, and it's a little tricky like that. So a lot of properties that Grasping Tape Toss has, we'll see if this one sees play. Having the tech keyword is pretty relevant for sure. All right, now let's get to some 2 difficulty foundations. Attention to detail, 2/5 +3 low block. After an attack is played, if its printed speed is 3 or less, it gets +1 damage. A little bit of a power down compared. We've had some 2/5 conditional +1 damage buttons. This is conditioned on speed 3 or less, which is, like many of these, a condition you might meet pretty easily in your deck. It is a bit of a weird one, though. I think all the attacks in this deck that we've seen so far have printed speed 3 or less, so everything in here will match it. And of course, if you're the 7-hand size Sam, then they're all 5 speed anyway, so it's pretty cool there. But kind of a card for this deck. I don't think it's going to see too much play outside of it. Next is an interesting one, Power Drain. This is a 2/5-3 mid block. Enhance Flip. Both players commit a foundation for each 5 foundations that they have. So a flip for we both stun 1 is not particularly great. There's cards that just commit to effectively say we both stun 1 that don't see too much play. But if your opponent's building out, this can become a flip, you stun 2, I stun 1, or you stun 3, I stun 1 if they're going deep into deadlock, and then it's kind of interesting. Maybe as part of an overall make them commit stuff strategy, you could see this, or in a deck that has ways to blow up foundations or something like that and do something with it before you blow it up. Power Drain could fit into something like that. Kind of a weird one. Maybe gonna end up being a little too niche. I guess he's being like some sideboard play if the format goes a certain way. And I think this is the last 2 diff from our common uncommon foundations, the Sampaguita Pilot. Pretty simple. Enhanced commit tech attack gets 2 damage, and if your rival hasn't taken damage yet, it gets 1 speed. 2 low block, which is a little bit nicer than some other cards like this, but for the most part, cards shaped like this don't see a ton of play. Again, here in Sam, he's already putting speed on his moves with the one version. The other version gets a lot of flexible stat manipulation, so having a card like this that can just commit to put a couple damage on things is pretty helpful. So it makes sense for the deck. I should have mentioned the symbols on a lot of these. All these are either Order or Void attuned. You can see on the card if you're watching the video. Alright, next we're going to get some Spam Foundations. The Spam Foundations here are largely pretty good, I think. We have a 1/5/2 high block Attitude Selector. This is Void attuned, and its response flip after you discard or remove one or more cards from your hand, just in case cards leave your hand for some other reason, you can flip this to draw a card. So, 1/5s that flip to draw a card are generally see play if you can meet their conditions, so decks that are discarding cards for one reason or another could meet this condition for sure. I don't recall if either Sam on their face does this, but we'll get into some ways to discard cards in a little bit here. Dial Adjustment. 1/5 Tech Foundation with a 2-minute block. Enhanced commit, this attack gets -2 speed and +2 damage. This is a pretty nifty take on the 1/5 -2 speed button. There's an old Mortal Kombat card that was sort of like this that destroyed a foundation for that effect. That was actually sneaky good. The ability to take your little -2 speed button and turn it sideways for 2 damage when you know something's going to land when they're out of cards in their hand, or you just know you have the zones on them or something like that, is actually kind of good. So I would expect this one to show up a bit. It is Order attuned. Everything has to compete for deck space as always, but I would certainly be interested in playing a couple copies of this. It'll be on sort of the rough draft of a lot of lists that have the Order attunement access. Don't do this. 1/5 Order attuned, +2 low block. Enhanced discard a card, this attack gains stun 1. So, not quite that card we banned named Snack Time, but better block, does some of what Snack Time was doing. This one almost certainly people are going to try out and see how they like it, because the better version of this effect was good enough to be banned. This is not quite as better, but if the attack doesn't get blocked, it's just as good. And you get a better block on it as well. One of those discard outlets we alluded to earlier. There's a few more coming up. But yeah, potentially pretty impactful card here. I think this is the last of our spam. We have Memory Upgrade. 1/6, 6-check, Void attuned, which is interesting for you Titancliff decks that might have a lot of access to this. 2 high block as well, and it flips. After rival plays an attack, you get to play the first enhance. We probably could have seen this one coming because the 7 hand size version of Sam can just end an enhanced step, so you get an ability like this in the fold and say, yeah, well, I'm going to get the first enhance and your attack's enhanced step is over. So very, very key card for 7 hand size Sam for sure. Might even see him, even though it's not a tech, running some Titancliffs to go and fetch this perhaps, like maybe a couple or something like that. But very good there. Otherwise, kind of earns at 6-check. This is kind of a weird effect that is only useful in some weird corner cases, but when it is, it's pretty good. So I'll be interested in seeing what decks try to play this besides Sam. Some decks just want to have as many 6-checks as they can, of course, and then it's just fine. Now, some higher difficulty foundations, some more rare ones. This is an uncommon 3/5 +2 high block foundation named Shutdown. Response remove, after your rival plays an attack that has a keyword with another attack in their card pool, you skip its enhanced step. So, interesting that we're not giving it flash. We're not going to bother with the keyword thing. We're just straight up going to skip the enhanced step instead of having to explain what flash is. I like that here. We've done that with Deadlock in these decks as well. Just instead of putting the keyword on there and having to have reminder text, just put the text of the thing on it. But yeah, on its face, +2 high block 3/5 version of a card that it was very powerful back in the day as a 3/4 with no block. Condition, you don't get to do it on their first move. It has to be a move that matches a keyword, something you've done before, which some decks, that'll be all their moves. Some decks, it will have almost no overlap. So a little janky in that sense, but when this is good, it's going to be very, very good. I could see this in a lot of sideboards for sure. Another one to watch out for. There's a lot of good foundations in this deck, definitely. And the rare foundation, Other Self. This one is a 3/4 with a +3 high block. And this one is unique, and it can remove to return an attack to its printed speed and damage. you could do this with your own move, notably, which may be relevant in some cases. It's kind of funny in Sam with all of his stat manipulation and flipping stats and adding speed and or adding damage and or reducing one or the other or whatever. And depending on how things develop, he might just say, nah, it's printed instead, right, on offense. But more generally, in the general purpose, this is just kind of going to be a nice all-purpose reset. Order attuned, so maybe not in too many of the same places as you'll see Desperate Struggles. I'm not sure if that... I don't think that one's rotating for a little bit yet. But similar kind of energy. You put a 3-diff in your deck to try to reset stats for you. We'll see if this makes space for itself or not. I'm not sure what the full landscape of these sorts of things looks like right now. But if your deck doesn't have access to something like this, and you have the order symbol, now you do. Alright, last we're going to get into a couple of funny attacks. We have Neelix Cheese. This is an uncommon attack. 4/3, 3 high 5, 1 mid block, powerful 2 tech weapon. This has Blitz, draw a card, and discard a card, and you may change this attack's damage to the printed damage of the card you discarded. So, kind of some funny build your own stuff going on here. We have, I think the highest damage move in this deck is 7, with that 3 mid 7 EX2. Obviously, in the broader world, we have a bunch of Titan moves that go up, I think, as high as 13 damage. If you really want to sell out to this thing and play a 13 damage move just to try and Yahtzee the 3 high 13. So, it's pretty funny. If I recall the timing on the 6-hand size Sam, you could... I think you would switch the speed and damage. You would make it a 5 high 3 and then make the damage up to 13 or whatever it is. So it's kind of interesting there, right? It plays pretty funny with that version of Sam. In the 7-hand size version, it's just 5 speed to begin with, so you don't even need to worry about that stuff. And you could even have this 5 speed high for whatever potato number you manage to blitz out of it, and then end the enhanced stat with the 7-hand size Sam. So pretty interesting for both versions of the character. Kind of a neat card overall. Kind of some cool stuff you might be able to do with it. And then for even cooler stuff in a similar vein, we have Okie Dokie. Also a 4/3, also a 3 high 5. This one a +2 high block on the Void Attuned. It has Frenzy. So it can be, if they've blocked something, it's a 4 high 6. If they've blocked a couple things, it's a 5 high 7. You haven't seen the Frenzy keyword yet. It's a Blitz timed keyword that says this attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for each attack that was blocked this turn. And the Blitz on this, in addition to the Frenzy, is to draw 1, discard 1, just like the other one. Only instead of getting the damage of the card you discarded, you get to pick up a keyword from it. This could be Stun, EX, Powerful, Echo, it could be Throw, take your pick. It could be a trait keyword if your character happens to care about that. It could be a trait keyword on a foundation, even. So this can sort of morph itself into a 3 high 5 Frenzy with whatever keyword your deck is predominantly running if you want to go that route. So it'll be pretty fun to see what people do with this. I imagine probably the best things to put on it are going to be Throw or Echo, or just a gigantic Powerful or something like that. But pretty funny card. You just put Stun on it, perhaps. But yeah, a bit of a mad scientist card. It is limited to keywords. I wonder if, well, I guess you could give it combo, but you wouldn't get the actual combo enhance, so that wouldn't help you too much. But yeah, kind of a fun card to play around with. Both of these 4-diffs, pretty fun cards that people are gonna have an interesting time trying to build decks around. And I believe that is our last one. Yeah, we're back to Delta Flyby. So, bit of a rapid fire. Lots of simple cards in here, but lots of pretty interesting ones, pretty neat ones. I don't think there are too many of these that are expressly just bad. It's kind of maybe a couple of the 2-diff foundations, maybe one of these 5-diffs. Like the 3 mid 7 EX guy probably isn't going to see any actual play. The other two might. The Throw almost certainly will somewhere at some point. The 2 low 6 might. The 4-diffs are both interesting. I like pretty much all the spam foundations. So yeah, pretty good deck overall. We had some nice cards in the last one too. I believe these are all tech attacks. I don't think there are too many order techs for my Chronostasis dreams. Both the discard card ones are void. We do get the virus upload. The Throw is an order tech. So Chronostasis could loop that a couple times. That would be pretty funny. That has a lot of synergy with him, so we might try that out. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what else you might put these decks in. Or these decks in. What decks you might put these cards in. Again, a lot of Order and Void attuned here. Got a bunch of neat spams that are probably going to have some impact in various places. And, you know, the Sams himself are both interesting, although the 7 hand sizes seems more of a spiky competitive character, but the 6 hand size still does some fun stuff, so it'll be interesting to try him out, given the chance. Yeah, that'll do it for now. The next video, I do not know what the next video is going to be, but again, make sure you check out the other preview videos, and these release on December 6th, so it's going to be, what, 3 weeks after this video drops, give or take a day? And then it'll be, you know, this will be legal for the Let's Talk UVS webcam final. If you're in that, these will be legal for, I believe there's a double case event or a single case event out in the Midwest at probably Borsat Gaming, because that's where they usually have those. And of course, these will be legal for Nationals and for Worlds. So lots of relevant cards coming in these decks. Have fun with those, and have a good night.